Welcome to another broadcast of The Competitive Edge. And I must say, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our viewers that are looking at this program from across the world. Today, we are going to be looking at a pretty dynamic topic, and that has to do with branding and marketing. In our view, branding and marketing should be common sense, meaning that if you're in business and you want to be successful, it should be common sense to understand the importance of first branding and second marketing. So we'll have that kind of conversation around that topic today. Today with me in the studio is we have three dynamic personalities. We have Nielsen Rose, and he has a wealth of knowledge in the stock market. And perhaps he will talk to us if enough information is being shared about stocks, the stock market, to help consumers to become more educated. Of course, the objective behind branding and marketing is to create awareness, and that will lead to increased sales and profitability of companies. We also have Paul Whitehouse, and Paul Whitehouse, he represents a number of financial portfolios, meaning that if you're in business and you need access to capital, he is one of our go-to person to help you to access capital. Perhaps you may want to also look at if there is enough branding and marketing within his eco space. And I say this because of the fact that as you travel the world, you might want to believe that only in developing economy or middle income economy there is a limited awareness of his type of instruments. But I want to say, even in the developed world, as you navigate the business sector, you navigate the market, you recognize that in the developed world, you have many persons who are in business, but they still do not know much of financial instruments. Perhaps you may want to examine and tell us why that is so. We also have Peter Peter Scott, Peter Gould Scott, and he's the guy that talks to you about master planning. He's the guy that talks to you about Legacy Chronicle. He's the guy that talks to you about getting your books done. And perhaps having your book as your business card can be a very unique way to brand yourself. And perhaps the question can be asked, why enough persons are not actively involved in the personal branding and corporate branding. So we have a dynamic team of panelists here today to do that deep dive into today's program. But just before I give a broad overview of branding and marketing, I will ask each of the panelists to give a short introduction of themselves to help those new viewers to get an idea as to who they are. I'm going to start with Nielsen Rose. Nielsen, the floor is yours.
Okay, morning again, everyone. Morning to the panelists, morning to the viewers and listeners. All right, so I'm Nielsen Rose, over 20 years experience in the financial sector in Jamaica with strong background in stock market and portfolio management. Currently, I host a program on the Jamaica Stock Exchange's business channel, which is called Let's Talk Stocks. And the channel is Caribbean Business Exchange. And we talk about everything business, finance, and economics. And it really is about getting as much information to persons to help them with making good financial decisions, essentially. So that's me. That's who I am.
Hmm. All right, thanks for that share, Nielsen. And I'm so happy that you're actively involved in enhancing public awareness about the financial sector so that they can make better, smarter investment decisions. I'm going to now come to Peter. Can you give us a short introduction of who you are? And then I'm going to come to the next financial expert, which is Paul. Peter, all to you.
Well, Peter Richard Guscott. Right now I'm in the middle of rebranding myself as well. My personal branding, as the name Scott is not my original name. It's not my father's name. My mother decided to take off the GU of my name. So when I came to, well, this time we decided a couple of years ago, my wife and I decided, you know what, let us go back to my original name. So we're in the process of rebranding ourselves as to our original name. And in essence, what we're saying to our community today is that how you put yourself from just your name, the meaning of your name, how you represent yourself, what you say, what you do, how you dress, how you act. It's all branding because it is communicating a message to somebody, and sometimes because individuals are not aware of that, they are leaving an impression, and that's what branding is. You're leaving an impression, you're stamping a mark in somebody's mind about who you are. And so what we do, we help people in Legacy Chronicles Human Growth Program to understand how they will be remembered long after they're gone. And we help people to understand that you have to design a master plan. You have to be very intentional in how you want to be remembered. So writing a master plan will give people a broad, a pointed view, not just a broad view, but a pointed view in how they impact their lives on a daily basis.
All right, thanks for that share. And Peter is talking about rebranding. And of course, in business and in life, there is definitely no harm in doing that. You can make a choice to open a new chapter in your life right now to be the best version of yourself. And it may require some form of rebranding. All right. So thanks for that share. Peter, I want to now come to another financial expert, which is Paul. Paul, can you help the public to know a little bit about you before we open up today's program?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody. Peter, we've got more in common than I thought we had.
Mm.
My last name used to be White House Ski. Now it's White
Oh,
House. We did that because I wanted two syllables instead of three.
okay.
I'm kidding. I'm just totally joking. I'm joking, you guys. Okay. All right. My name is Paul Whitehouse. I'm one of two owners of Patriot Business Finance Consultants.
Paul, pause for a minute. Paul,
Yeah.
pause for a moment.
Yes, sir.
Guys, I just looked down and I look up, right? And I thought I was looking at Jeff Bezos. Am I the only person seeing that?
Mention it. No, let's mention it. You are right.
I'm taller. He's too short.
All right, Paul, on to you. Go right ahead. We are happy to be rubbing shoulder with Jeff Bezos, right? Even with the taller version.
Maybe I can go out to eat tonight and just say that. See what happens.
Okay. Come back and tell us what
You know who I am?
Go ahead, Paul. On to you.
Okay. Well, Patriot Business Finance Consultants, patriotbfc.com. Check out our website, Paul at patriotbfc.com if you want to get a hold of me. And we help your business get the capital that it needs to grow. Startups or existing businesses. And it would cover equipment financing, real estate financing, cash flow products, or raising capital for large projects. We're here to help. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that share, Paul. So there you had it, viewers. We have a dynamic team of panelists here today, and we're going to be taking a deep dive into the face of branding and marketing. I believe that branding and marketing for every rising star in business should be common sense. But I could recall, growing up, the old folks used to say that common sense is not as common as you would want it to be. So we're going to examine that today. But just before we begin that examination, or as we go into that examination, I want to point out a couple of things that I want us to look at today. One, I want to say this, that the success of every business is influenced by branding and marketing. And in the event that you don't know what is branding and marketing, I'm going to do a brief overview of it. Branding, as Peter would have said, is you making a conscious decision that this is how I want to be known, liked, and trusted. And you take all practical steps to control that process. Now, if you are not in control of this process, you're leaving the door open for the public to form its own opinion of you. You should be in control if you're in business or in life. The marketing aspect of it is where you now predetermine how you want to be seen, known, liked, and trusted. And marketing now is a tool, is the vehicle that you're going to be using to project you in the public domain exactly how you want to be known. So this is one of the reasons why branding and marketing is so vital to the success of every business. With that being said, today I want us to cover branding and marketing for business and the financial sector. We will look at branding and marketing and public education. Is enough public education out there? And branding and marketing from the perspective of budgetary allocation. Is there enough budgetary allocation that is being made for branding and marketing? To get the conversation rolling, I want us to examine Nielsen. I want to come to Nielsen. You have spent many years in the financial sector, the stock market. And I also know that you are also very actively involved in promoting your brand. Would you care to shine some light on the importance, and if you remove that marketing and promotional element from branding what is happening on the Jamaican Stock Exchange market, what are the advantages and disadvantages of that?
All right, morning again, everyone. No, it's branding and marketing is a very important topic, but I think it has taken on a whole new dimension in more recent times, especially with the advent of social media. So it is very important. Branding is if we're talking about for the company and its products, it really is positioning whether the company, yourself, or a product in the mind of that individual, your target, your market, but out there in the marketplace, positioning that product or yourself in a way that you'd want to be seen or to be known. If we're talking about businesses, for example, it's very important that the business is positioned as what we call top of mind in the mind of potential consumers, meaning the brand in and of itself must be, if the person decides I'm going to look for a product or a financial service, then immediately, if they need funding, Paul comes to mind because of how he has positioned his business out there. And so he may want to be positioning that business as the go-to person in terms of the need for capital. So that's very important, and especially when you're going to the stock market, it is critically important. What I've realized, companies looking to list on the stock market may not have been well known prior to. Some have been, some may not, or some may have been known in a particular with a particular view of the company, they usually hire public relations people to ensure that the brand is positioned in the minds not just of consumers, but in the minds of investors as this is a company that I would want to put my money into. So branding is critically important. And then when we talk about, so previously, you had, in terms of vehicles being used for marketing and promotion, you would have been talking about radio and television, especially free to air or cable television. But now, with the advent of social media and social media marketing, we are seeing businesses taking a whole new look at how they utilize media, especially new media, digital media, to ensure that the name is out there. One of the things that, when you talk to companies that are listed on the stock exchange, even that process of listing multiplies the company's image tenfold. I mean, a company that may not have been so well known suddenly is in the face of everybody, because so you have this whole promotional part of getting listed, and then the fact that you have to report every single day on that stock market report where the company, how the company is doing, how the stock price moves. So you're now, even without spending another dollar on marketing, because the stock market has to report on the performance of companies, you're getting that out there every single day. Somebody is pushing your company. This is where the price went. This is how it traded. And then when you look at the fact that with the stock market, there's things like corporate governance and so on. And it's, you now have to report to the shareholders through the market the performance of the company, meaning the financial performance, the economic and financial health of the business itself. What are you doing? How much profits are you making? You have to report that quarterly, and then you have to submit your annual reports and so on. So again, it provides a platform where you're out there in the face of the consumer and investors every single day. So it takes on a whole new dimension. So you know, it is very important that once you go that route, you want to ensure that you have the right professionals to position you the way you want to be seen. That's very important.
All right, thanks for that share, Nielsen. And you said a whole lot, and I love that you also expanded the conversation into the various vehicles, meaning media. You know, traditionally what we had is mass media, radio, television, and newspaper. But we have seen that in recent years, not so recent years, we have, you know, social media, and you have a whole host of digital communication platforms that tends to give a little bit more accuracy in demographic targeting. Now, what I'm attempting to say here is that to achieve the desired results with branding and marketing, it's no longer about just producing the ad. It's no longer about just thinking about the brand image that you want to create. Because if you're doing all of this, which you need to do, but then you're not thinking about the effectiveness and the effective use of medium that's across the medium spectrum, it may undermine the objective that you're going to achieve. So the expert that you're working with, they are now challenged to ensure that they collect the right data to design the brand, and they collect the right data in the placement of that advertising and branding content across the social media spectrum. We will not get into all of that today, but it's just to highlight what is necessary. And at the same time, is to say that in our community, we have a broad ecosystem, a broad talent base that can help you make smart decision when it comes to your branding and marketing. I want to come now to Paul. Paul, I know that you've spent quite a number of years in the financial sector, providing capital to businesses that need those funds to grow. But do you think that there's enough awareness of capital or how to access capital in your experience? Do you think that there's enough public relation campaigns and marketing? Is there enough brand that is being done within your sector to help the ideal client to better understand your product?
That's a very, very interesting question. So, yeah, I mean, there's enough because the world's full of companies like mine, and they're all putting it out there. So I think there has to be, just statistically, there has to be enough volume of information, whether it's on TV, on Instagram, on YouTube, on everywhere. I mean, I would think that the volume has to be enough, that they're pushing enough information. All over my LinkedIn feed, yes, there's enough information presented out there. What I think your follow-up question might be, well, then why aren't people taking advantage of it, or why don't they have the information? Would that be a fair follow-up question that you might have?
That's definitely a fair follow-up question.
Okay. Well, until you need something, you don't study it. Business owners are experts in their field. If you're a manufacturer, you're an expert in manufacturing what you manufacture. If you're a service provider, you're an expert providing that service. Okay. But you might not be an expert in raising capital. Your limited view might be you're only looking 90 degrees forward. Don't even have periphery on. You're looking 90 degrees forward, and you think you have to go to your local bank. I mean, everybody knows, the world knows that they can raise money by going public and raising money on the stock market. That's a known thing. That's ingrained. We just know that when we're kids, right? For some reason. But they also know that they can go to their bank and get money, but they don't know what to do if they have difficult credit. Something happened, because things do happen. It's not a perfect world. Something happens, your credit score dips below 680, 660, and your bank says no. So they don't know that part of it. There's enough information out there that they should know it, but for some reason you just don't know. You don't think about it until you need it. Okay. So they don't know that there's hard money lending or something called a sale leaseback. You got to go research, collect the information, and then find a trusted person to work with.
All right. But I think that there's a lot of logics to what you're saying, because I think across social media platform, you can literally research any topic, and it's there in front of you. So I want to shift the question as I come now to Peter just a little bit, and I begin by saying that branding and marketing is relevant to all businesses, all. But what I'm seeing is that it is not common among businesses. For example, you're going to find big companies like the Walmart, the Target. They are able to do a lot of public relation in relation to their value offer. What is the difference? Is it, you think that the smaller businesses, from your perspective, Peter, they have a limited knowledge of how branding and marketing plays to grow and scale their business, or is it limited capital? And any one of them, we know that we can fix that. All right. But from your view, is it limited knowledge? or is it limited capital for them to do branding and marketing? Taking into consideration that without branding and marketing, you are not likely to achieve the visibility, the reach and impact, and the growth, the scale, the cash flow optimization that that business needs. It's like saying to you that if you don't brand, if you don't do marketing, you're literally sucking the oxygen out of the life of that business. What are those factors preventing them? Is it knowledge or is it capital? And from your perspective, Peter.
It's a little of both, Gary, because what happened with large enterprise, large enterprise are intentional in what they're doing based upon size. So a large enterprise, they're going to attract from the get-go, they're going to attract all the talents that they need to ensure that they enter the marketplace at a certain with a certain level at a certain level, and to create the kind of impact that they intentionally designed to do. On the smaller scale, which is the vast number of small businesses that runs the economy, most of those individuals, as they enter the market, they are just entering the market from the standpoint of, I have a skill, I have a service, and I think that this is good for the market. I want to enter the marketplace because I'm good at doing this. So the gentleman who has a restaurant, or the mom and pop store, or the vast number of businesses that we walk through or cityscape and see these individuals. These individuals just know that they need to make some money and they have some skill. So they're just thinking about doing what they do best. They're not thinking about the dynamism of services or additional services that are necessary, the ecosystems of what business requires to succeed. They're just interested in getting their product and their service. So they do not think, I need to brand. They're not thinking, I need to market. They're not thinking, I need to allocate a budget. They just want to do what they do best. So it's a balance. And then in doing that, as I say, the question is if it is a matter of the finance not there to do it, or the knowledge. So they don't know that they need to do that because they just want to do what they do best, and they did not allocate the funds to do that. They just want to do what they do best. Hope that answers the question.
That was powerful, Peter. There's always say you don't know what you don't know, and I believe that is certainly so. Nielsen, would you want to take a jab at that question also? What,
Yes.
from your perspective, knowledge or lack of capital?
I'd agree with Peter that it's a little bit of both. But the elephant in the room in that case is that, again, given the advent of social media and all the tools that are now available, a phone in the hand of any one of those persons is a massive tool for branding and advertising and so on. So even with the lack of capital, which may not allow you to take advantage of mass media or mainstream media, you now have the potential to really reach a wide cross section of persons, and so then in that case it comes down to a lack of knowledge. And then even when we look, so there are a lot of people on these platforms, the Facebooks, the Instagrams and so on, TikTok, and they're just on it for the fun of being there, but they do not realize they
Okay.
they do not realize the potential of that space in even creating their own personal brand, and putting themselves out there because of the community that's available to them. As a matter of fact, even without trying, these platforms are collecting data on you and building a particular brand or image of who it thinks you should be or who it thinks you are, based on what you are doing currently, and therefore it will feed you, information, or the feeds as they call it. What comes into your feed will be based on how you've been traversing these platforms. And so it is a massive tool. And so the lack of knowledge is even more powerful, and even more overriding than the lack of capital.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Neil. Based on what yourself and Peter would say, um, lack of knowledge and perhaps also capital of the importance of branding and marketing perhaps can be another explanation as to why so many businesses fail. And Peter, we see this all the time. Sometimes you're walking down the streets of New York, America, and you see that, you would have gone to a location and an establishment was here, and the next time you go, they're out of business.
Mhm.
You know, um, I want to say this to the public. We're having this conversation not because we want to have this conversation, but we're having this conversation because we want to help you in business. You may start a business, and that is, kudos to you. You have made a brave step to position yourself to build wealth. But then there's a right and wrong way
Mhm.
to grow and scale that business. And I'm going to say this again, I'm going to repeat it. If you take branding and marketing out of the equation of the business experience, you're sucking the oxygen and the blood out of that business. And ask yourself, can you survive without oxygen? You can't. The business is just like you, all right? And you need oxygen. And the oxygen of that business is the branding, it's the marketing, all right? So it's important that you focus on the importance of this, and you may most likely with the right expert on your side to help you navigate the branding and marketing world. I'm quite certain that you're going to be in a much better position to build public confidence, trust, and credibility and move your business where it can cash flow and optimize. With that being said, I want to come to Paul. Paul, you want to give it a jab?
Sure. I just want to touch on what Nielsen and Peter said. And I didn't make this up. This was a meme that I saw a year ago, but it relates. Okay. You grab somebody from the 1970s, bring them back, drop them off in America or anywhere else. And if you tell them you have a device in your hand that has almost all of the recorded information in the world available, and you can do this with it, and you can do that with it, and you can make a video, you can make a movie, because in the 70s it cost a lot of money to make a movie.
Right.
And then you tell them, they says, what do you do with it? I look at cat videos and I argue with people a lot. That's no excuse. Like, if you don't have, I didn't go to business school, but I'm pretty sure that they teach it in business school, branding and marketing. And if you didn't go to business school, it's just, as you said, it should be common sense. It should just become apparent to you that I have to market. And we've all heard the word branding, I think, across America. I think everybody knows what it is. There's no excuse not to know what it is. So you know what it is. That means you got to do it, which comes down to probably in most cases, I don't have the budget to do it because everybody probably knows it or they have somebody who's maybe said it to them. Hey, you got to get some advertising going. Now, the advertising's the broad word. Really, it's marketing and branding. Okay. Okay. So somebody said it to them. So I think often it comes down to, lack of a master plan. When you start that pizza shop, when you build that manufacturing center, whatever you do, right? Now, okay, here's another thing. There's different industries that market and brand to different clients. If you're going for retail, it's probably a different type of branding and marketing. If you're going for business to business, maybe so it's different right there. So know who you're going to market to.
Mhm.
And Everybody's got to know this. It is common sense. I didn't even have to talk this long on it, right? It's got to be common sense. And then I think it just boils down to not having the budget. I've started businesses when I was younger with no budget, with $1,000. Several of them didn't work. So, you know what I mean? So if I would have started with a master plan and had everything that I needed, sure, it would have worked if I would have been smarter back then.
I think that there's a
Mm.
component. We talk about
All right.
we talk about the knowledge, we talk about the resource, the financial resource, but
Knowledge gap.
a third part of it is time, especially where small businesses are concerned, because a lot of small, and we say small businesses, uh, the majority of businesses that are out there is run by an individual who doesn't have a team. So you find that he's just doing his business, distributing his product or his service, but he just have individuals to help him to deliver his product or her services. And if we understand as use your word here, the ecosystem that supports a successful business, as we started out with the leadership, then you have to have the research and the development, the marketing, the sales, the accounting, finance, the customer service, the custom, all that goes into deliver the product. So what happens is that because he has just the team to deliver even though he might know he doesn't have the time, he doesn't have the time. So they get up in the morning and the demand is to deliver your service. And if he's doing good, he's, delivering your service. But then to take the time to go on social media, as much as your telephone is such a great tool to start it, if they are not intentional, and coming back to, or in our world of master planning, people become so busy with just the way how the routine life operate, that without having proper planning to actually cultivate that system around them, then the time becomes a factor. By the time they get home, they are so exhausted, and then they get up the following morning and they start. It's all.
Yeah. Peter, you made some strong points, and I want to also reflect on something Nielsen had said early on. Brandon in of itself, it's a broad subject matter, because you have personal branding and then you have corporate branding. And when we break it up into its context, and when we put it into context, it comes back to some of the things that you might have said, Peter. A lot of small businesses, whether they're aware of it, they may not have the budget to do branding the way branding has to be done. And let me just explain this, and then I'm going to give some solutions to this. Branding is not just having a logo. Branding is not just developing a strong corporate culture. But the branding cuts all the way into how the corporate image presents itself, internal and external. And you find that when it comes to the corporate building, that is a capital intensive exercise. But I see what has been done in the United States of America to help many companies with branding. You may have a private equity investor who finds a location and develop a multi-unit building. And what he does, he outfits that building with strategic outlets for companies to brand themselves. And Peter, when we walk the streets of New York, we see this. You did take the ground floor and they convert it into businesses, and perhaps on some of the upper floor they put, apartment. But what they do, they create a branding opportunity for people. The point that I want to hit here is that while we are fully aware that small businesses may not be able to engage and embark on the dynamic efforts into branding and marketing, I do believe that infrastructures can be set up to help them in that process. I want to come back to Nielsen. I mean, in your space as a private, you have been, mixing and meddling with, stocks and bonds, stock market, private equity and investment. Do you see any merit to what I'm saying? And let me bring to bring it down to you. Businesses need branding because without this, they are likely to fail. As a private equity investor, do you see commercial viability in building that building out and creating multiple units that are exclusively fitted to help businesses to achieve the brand effect that they want? Because with a strong brand, they're better able to reach their ID client, appeal to their ID client, make impact, optimize the cash flow. Do you see that as a commercially viable venture, something like that, to help these small businesses?
Absolutely. So there's two things I want to point out here. So Peter spoke to the fact that many of these persons might be so busy doing what they do because this is what they know. This is their lifeblood. This is what they do. And that's why it's important that consultants like ourselves are brought in, because the business may not be able to employ a marketing or promotions manager and put them on a salary. But it makes financial sense to outsource because that's not your expertise. Your expertise is cooking Jamaican food. So you open a Jamaican restaurant.
Yeah.
and you know how to do that very well. And while word gets out. But if you employ outsource it. There are people who that's what they do. And so for a much smaller fee, for a much smaller cost, and it then becomes cost effective. And it's again comes back to understanding financial decisions, because it is looking at how much is this gonna cost if I employ somebody versus if I just say put it out to a social media strategist or whoever it is out there, and they can then get me to the persons, because again the target marketing is important. Who do I really want to see this? Who do I really want to know about my business? And again, because of data analytics and all of that social media has brought and the technology has brought, they're able to get you to that market, that target that you want to know about your business for a much smaller cost. But so that's one thing. But if I go more specifically to the question you asked, and Paul will tell you, that when a private equity investor puts his money in a business, they don't just put that money in, leave it, and say, well, all right, you know the business, you run it. They take a seat on that board because they want to ensure that, given the potential that we see in this business, given where it's at now on this ground floor, but given the potential of where we see this thing can go, we want to be at that table to add that value to ensure that people understand, look, if we used to serve 100 persons, if we put this properly out there and utilize these strategies, then we can go to 1,000. And that in and of itself mean expansion of the business so that the private equity investor can look at his exit strategy 2-3 years down the road. So it's absolutely important, especially from that perspective, that so when that private equity person going in, they're not just looking at, well, yes, you can grow, you can pay me back my money, but it's also not that you're credit worthy and you're financially sound, and so it's not only that, but it's the fact that this, given where you are here today, in 2-3 years time, given the potential to which you can reach and the value to which my investment can now grow, it is massive. So it is critically important in terms of that investor coming into that business. There are people who will look at a business that may not be doing all that well, but when the person come to them for the money and they look at the potential, they are willing to take even a 50% stake because they already have a plan as to how they're going to exit, and what that exit point could be and what that exit strategy should be. And therefore, what we need to do at this point is get in there, help them to grow it up, not necessarily taking it over, but even if they do take over, again, it might be with a view to carrying it to a much higher level, which would include a lot of branding and marketing and repositioning of that business to get it to where they want to go.
Nielsen, you made a number of points. I just want to take you up on one, and you're correct. Private equity investors may become a GP, meaning that they're taking a seat on your board as a general partner. That doesn't necessarily has to be to a disadvantage of your company. One of the things that I emphasize is that as you think about working with private equity investor, is to ensure that you have the right private equity investor on your side, not just the type that is going to allocate monies to you. Yes, that is good, but it makes more sense to have a private equity investor who is a GP on your board and they understand market. So they're able to look at the market and said, hey, you're only targeting or reaching 10% of the market. And with their database, we're going to carry you to 20, 30, 40% increased market share. So regardless of the cost that you're going to be paying to have them sit on your board, they are going to be 10x and 20x. And because they want a unicorn, because the way that they're going to get paid is to make you a unicorn. All right. So the right, private equity investors on your platform can work to your advantage. Again, I'm happy to say that is exactly why we are building out this space. Because with us, you have all types of experts. You have Neil, who works in the stock exchange market, years of experience. He is a public relation face for the Jamaican stock exchange market, so he has a wealth of knowledge of what he's talking about. You have Paul, he's the guy who is in contact with over 100 financial entities to ensure that if one financial instrument doesn't work for you, the other one is going to be right there for you. You have Peter, you have myself. And the reality is that we will leave absolutely no stone unturned to ensure that you win when it comes to starting, growing, and scaling your business and making the level of impact that you want to make. And Neil, we have only while we are discussing branding and marketing, we are just scratching the surface because there's so much for us to go into here. But just before I expand it just a little bit, I want to come to Paul. Paul, I know you have some thoughts that you may want to share at this point. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Gary. Well, listening to Nielsen and listening to Peter and listening to you talk, like ideas always stir in my head. So hitting on what Nielsen said, it's the cost of doing business. Hiring, Peter led into what Nielsen said. And if you don't have the time or the expertise, you have to hire a consultant. And they're out there. Social media experts are out there. Just get the right one, but you can get them to take care of your branding and marketing. As you often say, Gary, that is the cost of doing business. Yeah, just like your equipment is a cost of doing business, just like your physical location is. And guess what? If you don't view branding and marketing as a cost of doing business, you're not going to be able to continue to pay for your physical location or your equipment because you won't have the sales, or the sales that you will have won't be at the level that you want or need them to be. You want to have a bunch of excess cash flow, and you only do that by having a lot of customers. So it's vital. And then I just want to touch real lightly on one thing that you said. You described an environment to where business owners can go and create, right? somehow, some way, I can finance the music industry with equipment, but I can't finance concert or things like that. But for some reason, like people started calling me for that, and I became friends with a lot of people in the music industry now. Not big names, but a lot of potential big names, right? And they tell me what they do, how they do it, and more than one of them has told me that they have studios, and they're not just the studio in your mom's basement. They're actual studios. You know what I mean? Okay. But in addition to that, they have rooms that they rent out with different themes, and you can go have your podcast there. Different backgrounds. Of course, you got green screens. You can change your background, but they have furnished and decorated rooms with beautiful backgrounds that any business owner can go and make. So, with their iPhone or just their phone and a tripod, and you can make as high quality of videos as anybody in the world. So that's there's so many resources, and you can do it yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I just want to add a couple of things. Peter, you said that a lot of people in business, they are sole traders. They're doing it alone. And based on everything that is also being said, to be successful in business, it's first of all important that you recognize that there are multiple moving parts. And I'm prepared to take hit for this. As a sole trader, you can be the accountant. You can be the public relation manager. You can be the producer and distributor. You can be the cultural anthropologist. You can be the digital marketing specialist all together and be successful. It's impossible. It's impossible. So it's important to recognize that in building a business, you need to understand the organization chart. You need to understand strategic leadership and tactical leadership and operational leadership and ensure that you know where your place really is. And to apply the 20/80 rule. So you're focusing on 20% of the task and you're delegating the 80% out. You got the most important 20% because if you focus on everything, I don't care if you're a born genius, you will self-sabotage. I'm saying this and I want to bring it down to a small point. Even with that little gadget you have in your hand, the phone, it can help you accomplish so much, my boy. But let me tell you what I've seen. You may be good at shooting and producing, a little promotional content, but then they got algorithm at the back of the thing that you don't understand algorithm. And when you put it into the hands of the youngsters, these youngsters take that same ad that you struggling to get visibility, and those guys start to wrap up visibility for your content. You need to get the right team player on your side. All right. You need to get the right team players. Now, we are saying all of this again. Why? Because we have been through a lot of what we are talking about here. We have helped a number of businesses through the growth phase. And we are providing these type of information. Why? Because we want to accelerate your pace and rate of growth in business. If you have these information, you could avoid the pitfalls. You might be saying, hey, I'm going to wait for another 2 years to start doing branding and marketing. Why wait? Get it done now. We are here to give you that support to get it done. Access to capital is not a challenge. Access to market is not a challenge. You have all the knowledge base here that's going to help you with that. I want to shift a little bit just to focus on some importance of the branding and marketing experience.
Gary, may I throw
Go ahead, Peter.
before you go to your next topic, because in a number of the individuals that I interface with, they are so much ingrained in the community, but they have no clue to to what we're talking about, even though it is the primary responsibility of their entity. And I'm talking about individuals who are in the spiritual service industry, churches,
Mm-hmm.
and they have, or we have, what we call evangelism. But a lot of pastors and ministry leaders don't equate evangelism with marketing, and that is exactly what it is. And so you find that they are struggling with a few people in their congregation, not understanding that they have a product or a service, which is the gospel, that has to be sold in somebody's mind, that has to be packaged in a certain way so that it can be easily distributed in the community and the world. There is so much a demand, because the world is in a very critical case situation now, which a lot of problems that is in the world can be solved by what they are selling, but they have no idea about what we're talking about here and how to use it effectively so that they can have or gain impact with their desired audience.
Yeah, we need to have some strategic engagement with that community, Peter. And I know that we talk about it because in that sector is a very big sector. We have millions of consumers and users of that content in that environment that we can see
Mm.
significantly underserved. But we can do a special program on that area where we can bring highlight to it. What I want to throw out now is the importance of public education in the context of branding and marketing. I just want to look at four benefits for businesses. Why do you need to embark on a massive public education program with your brand, about your brand? One, it helps you to build targeted brand image. Targeted brand image means a lot. It means that you set targeted performance outcome in terms of what you want to achieve with your brand image, and you achieve it. I'm only going to say that for now. There's much more. Second, it enables you to build strategic visibility locally, nationally, regionally, and internationally. That visibility helps you to get appeal. Without visibility and appeal, you don't get to grow the business the way you want to grow the business. You're going to struggle. And you could go through this struggle and growth phase for the years and decades if you take branding and marketing out of the equation. The second element, by embarking on a massive public relation program, branding and marketing, you are now able to educate the consumer base. And can you imagine that you're giving information to your consumers so they are saying to themselves, I know why I like Paul. All right. I know why I trust Paul or Nielsen, because they have what it takes to take me to the next level of my journey. If you don't give the information in the branding process, the branding and marketing process, no one knows about Paul, no one knows about you, no one knows about Nielsen. So they're not able to make an informed and educated decision as to why they should support your brand, your business. Information transfer is important part of the business success equation. The last one that I want to make, branding and marketing significantly help in increasing sales and the profitability of your business. Now, having made those four statements, I want to throw out an important question, and it has to do with budgetary allocation of funds. I think Paul would have said it, Peter would have said it, and Nielsen, you said this to some extent. But do you think, in your experience, and I know the answer is no, I'm still going to ask it, that businesses make large enough budgetary allocation for branding and marketing? Simple question.
You're right. No, generally outside of the big conglomerates,
Yeah.
who are very focused on what they're doing? The simple answer is no.
No.
Many people have a marketing department, really, maybe with just a one person. And they give a budget there just because,
It's, yeah, it's just
just
routine.
because. Yeah,
There's no strategic objective behind it.
exactly.
But the expert will say to them, listen to me, branding and marketing is not just about just going to produce the ad and take it about your brand image.
Exactly.
There's a number of steps that has to be taken in this branding and marketing exercise. You
Yeah,
got to collect the data. You got to do the, go
listen, as
ahead,
you
dear
talk
sir.
about the collection of data and what we're seeing now with the advent of this technology is what we talk about data analytics and what that can give you. So even when you decide that, all right, I'm gonna give some good budgetary support to the marketing department. But you would have had to set, Peter talks about that master plan all the time. You would have had to set that master plan, well, for the business or for your individual selves, and where do you want to get to, who do you want to see you, and how do you want them to see you. And then it's allowing for the collection of the data to inform the next moves as to how do you position and to whom do you push, this image, this brand that you so desire to have. And I mean, it's limitless what you can do. And again, many people do not do that cost benefit analysis of the branding and where it can take the business, especially in terms of sales and eventually to the bottom line. That's critically important.
I agree with you, my friend. Totally. Paul, give this thing a job.
Wow. I'm going to start it the same way that Nielsen did. The simple answer is no. And I'm not even going to try to look smart because Nelson said it all. I don't think there's anything else to add. There's nothing else to add.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what? What is the irony of all this, Paul, is that we are not just pointing out the problems because we know the solution. In the case that you don't know, now that we have said it, you can't say that I didn't know and that's why I wasn't doing it. You now know.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second case, where you don't have the capital to achieve that objective, we are also saying to you that we can help your financial problem. We may not allocate capital just for advertising, but we're going to analyze the entire business. And once the business is fundable, you will get the fund to achieve the objective. If it's not fundable, we're going to still work with you to ensure that we bring that business to the point where it is fundable. It reached the fundability factor, and they will get the funding to move the business forward. All right. So none of these things represent an excuse. They shouldn't represent an excuse any longer. All right. You don't have to worry about the expertise. You have so much of experts here with you today that either they're so committed. That's the beautiful thing about it. We're so committed to helping you to achieve your business and your financial objectives. You just got to be the camel coming to the well and drink that water. That's all. All right. The water of progress and development and growth and expansion. And, I want to add this little piece to, my friends. With us, we are not going to train you only to think local. Thinking local is good, but the world has become a very small place. We're going to train you to think regional, national, and international. And guess what? We have that ecosystem built out that if you're in Barbados and Trinidad or Jamaica or Guyana, and you want to go to set up your operation in the US, guess what? We have an ecosystem built out to take you global and give you all the support that you need to effectively integrate your business, your brand into the US market. So we are not here to just talk shop and just gaff with you. We are here to give you that support to take you to the next level of growth and expansion in business. My friends, I want to ask you now to perhaps chime in. There might have things that you'd want to say that I didn't ask. So I want to give you a chance to say those things as we begin to wrap up into this program. And then I will come back and talk about some giveaways that we want to give to the public and the business community. So I'm going to start with Peter. Anything that you'd want to say that perhaps I didn't ask that you want to share with us now?
Well,
Say it or forever hold your peace.
the bottom line in the subject that we're dealing with right now is as it relates to branding and marketing. And the branding and marketing is as simple for us in our world, is just to be remembered, and that is what our vision and our mission is, to help people to be remembered. How will you be remembered, especially in the area of legacy? How will you be remembered after you are gone? And so we try to assist individuals to understand that there is a time, as you're mentioning, Gary, that take advantage now, because there will come a time when we're no longer here, one way or another. And how do we desire, what is the memory that we're leaving the next generation? How do we want people to engage with us or to see us? We have to become intentional about that. And then we have to create a plan in how we're going to get that done.
All right, thanks for that share, Peter. My good friend Paul, anything that I didn't ask, take this time to put on that gloves. All to you, my friend.
Okay, you're thorough, Gary, so I think you covered it all. I'll just talk about our business finance consultant program so people know about that.
Yes.
Okay, 100 people, and if you're hearing me and you are one of these people who want to do this with us, we want to work with 100 people and teach you the information required to sell money to businesses, financing to businesses, provide it, sell it, however you want to look at it. You're providing a service of structuring financing for businesses. We will turn you into that expert with full training, full support. You're not going to be an expert in a month or 3 months. You'll start getting good in 3 months. It's going to take time, but we're going to walk you through that process, turn you into a high-level expert. And for that, you are very well compensated. Okay, think about this. Hourly money. Let's go crazy. $30 an hour. Okay, times 40 is 1,200 minus taxes, 800 or 900. Multiplied times, you're at 64,000, 60 some thousand a year. Is that enough? Is that enough? Do you want more? We all want more, because we can do good things with that much money. We can help people out. We can help our families. How much do you want to leave for your family? Make that part of your master plan. You have to. Okay. How do you do that? While you're alive, get at it, grind it, but grind it smart. Pick the best vehicle to make a lot of money with. Sales is that. Hourly is not that. Sales and business ownership. So you can make a lot of money with us. We'll teach you how to do it. Just here's a quick example, and then I'm going to wrap it up. $500,000 piece of equipment. You come across a business who wants that piece of equipment, and $500,000 is small. Okay. It can go up tens of millions or millions, up to $10 million for equipment financing. $50,000, $40,000 minimum that we do, all the way up to the highest dollar amounts. But let's just look at $500,000. How much would we charge for that? 10, 50, 3 points, which is $15,000, maybe 4 points if it's a very difficult deal to get accomplished. That's their cost of doing business, and they don't mind paying it, especially when they can't get it otherwise, and especially when we provide savings and demonstrable savings and the lowest cost of money. So If we make $15,000 and you are the agent and consultant that brought that deal to us, 25% of it is yours. That's $3,750. How many times can you do that in 1 year? As many times as you can. And that's how you make a bunch of money. And if you don't want to be in the sales and you want to start your business, but you don't have the money to do it, well, I say this to people all the time. Well, number one, you can work with us and make that type of money. Car sales. I tell so many people, if you're going to own a business, you need to be in sales. You need to know how to do sales. And if you are shy and you don't know how to do sales, car sales for a year will transform you. You'll be able to ask, do you want to buy this today? You have to be able to ask that. And if your goal is to be a business owner, you have to be able to ask those questions. You have to be decisive and ask questions that you're uncomfortable. And after you do that enough times, you'll become very comfortable asking those questions because they're nice questions. Somebody wants something from you. If they're coming to you for advice, information, or to buy a product, it's very fair after you spend all the time with them, a half hour, an hour, hours, explaining your product, your process, how it benefits them, how it solves their problem. It's fair for you to be able to say, is this something that you would like to do? And let's do this. We're going to teach you those skills. If you don't have the skills of sales or being a subject matter expert, you can get that training with us and make money. So that's our business finance consultant program. Paul at patriotbfc.com. Email me, direct message Gary on all these platforms. Let's definitely get together. Let's talk about this, and let's do it.
All right, thanks for that share. And Paul, just a little bit I want to add there. I know Paul would have, look at the possibility of you earning $60,000 and above $1,000. And Paul, we talk about this all the time. You can double that, you can triple that, you can 10x that if you want to. The training that you're going to get and the exposure to the essential information for you to accelerate your potential to make money is going to be off the hook. Mm-hmm. So I encourage you to come, get the experience, get a feel of what the BFC is all about. And we are training you to sell capital throughout the United States of America, 50 states. And come get the experience. You have none to lose. We are going to be sponsoring you, so you don't have to worry about that cost. All right. We will be sponsoring you the entire cost for the entire training and then set you up to go out and make money for yourself. With that being said, I want to come to the great Nielsen Rose to, give us that insight, closing remarks, and anything that I might not have asked you. Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. It's very important that one begin to look seriously at marketing, branding as critical just to even one's existence. We've spoken a lot about from a business perspective, but even as an individual, you're going out there to look that job. Is it that you just want to go there and turn up and to the interview and whatever they say, well, this is a $10 job, $10 an hour job, or who you want to turn up at the table and they see you as this partner coming to bring added value. So again, how do you position yourself? How are you seen? And that is important. So branding starts even from the very individual. And when you bring that perspective over to the company, to the organization, and what branding can do for the organization and where it can take it, we ought to look at branding as just a must-do. You can't be in business without looking at branding and marketing. If you have the best value proposition, but nobody knows you have it, then That's just you and that value proposition sitting all alone. You're making no money from it. So it's critical, absolutely important that we relook what we're doing in terms of branding and marketing.
All right. I love that. It's like you invest your time, talent, and your resources to become the greatest talent the world has ever known. And you feel so good about that talent, you lock yourself up in the room. And guess what? You become selfish. You don't want to share that talent. You lock it away. It's on the lock and key. You gotta let people know. I like that, deal. I like that. All right. In conclusion, I want to say this. I really trust that you guys would have enjoyed today's program. We have a dynamic team of talent. I want to thank Paul, a tremendously talented guy. I want to thank Peter, exceptionally talented guy who wants to help you to leave your legacy plan. And of course, we have the great Nielsen Rose, who is definitely an exceptional talent, a great mind in financial instruments. And you have so much to learn from this dynamic team of people. So I want to encourage you to keep coming and also call a friend, tell a friend that the competitive edge is on, and they're going to be dropping gems to ensure that you get the competitive edge in business and in life. Now, in conclusion, I want to say this. This program comes to you with a kind compliment of the bestseller portal, Global Capital Inc., Pitch Deck 101 LLC, and 10X Branding and Marketing, among the other companies that my team represents. And we have talked a lot today about branding and marketing, and we just don't want to leave it like that. So if you have listened to us to the end of this program and you're here right now or listening to the replay, we want to sponsor 10 persons that we will train in branding and marketing. You will get our books, which is Master the Sales Communication Process. And I'm saying to you, these are exceptional books. These books wasn't written from imagination. They were written after years of seeing how businesses are operating, seeing challenges, seeing difficulty, innovating strategies, applying those strategies, and now those strategies are documented in that book. It's going to help you to understand how to start a business, how to scale a business, the fastest way to cash flow your business. So I encourage you to reach out to us right now. The first 10 persons, we're going to train you and ensure that you understand how to apply branding and marketing to your business. All right, the program is going to last for a little bit, but the experience is what makes all the difference. And you show up and you show up right. Guess what else? After that training, you may need access to capital. We're going to get you capital. You may need access to market. We're going to get you in the market. You may need access to the master plan. We're going to get you the master plan. You may need to learn more about how to invest in the stock exchange market. We have Nielsen here to help you to understand all of that. All right. So again, I trust that you would have enjoyed today's program. And we do look forward to doing this with you again tomorrow, Friday, as we go into another broadcast of the competitive edge. With that being said, I want to say to you, be good, be smart, invest in your business, invest in yourself. My dad always said to me, the sky's the limit. And I want to say to you, you can go beyond the sky. I'm just changed up a little bit. All right, guys, thanks for being here today. It has been an awesome presentation today.